Nick, you're a huge fan of theme parks, right?
Yes, I am, and I can't wait to talk about this new theme park that you were at this weekend, which is
Epic Universe! It's not even open to the public yet. It won't be open for over another month, and yet Universal invited me to an early preview of the park, and let me just tell you, this land, or this park is incredible. So I got to see practically every major thing there, including rides, shows, all the lands, which encompasses Super Nintendo World, the new Harry Potter segment, which includes, by the way, the Battle at the Ministry ride, which, as far as I'm aware, had not even been open for technical previews for anyone. I think I was one of the first people in the world to ride this ride, and it is kind of mind-blowing. We'll get more to that in a second. There's also Isle of Berk from How to Train Your Dragon, and Dark Universe, which is like all the classic Universal monster movies, plus a kind of fifth land there being the Central Hub or Celestial Park, which has some rides of its own. There is a lot to talk about, Nick, and I can't wait to. So where do we even start here, Nick? What do you think?
Let's start with the Central Hub, right? Because this is where everything's gonna take place, right? And you're gonna go divide into each individual land. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, so what's kind of cool about Celestial Park, or the whole park in general, is that they've really, like, siloed off all these different lands. You know, like, lands and theme parks aren't anything new. Fantasyland, Tomorrowland, all that stuff, right? But the key thing here is they are really compartmentalized, where it feels like you go through a portal from the hub. Each land only has one entrance and one exit. And when you go through that portal, it really feels like you're entering, you know, another dimension, or world, if you will, or universe, I guess. And like, to the point that, you know, you almost forget about the rest of the park when you're there. Like, when you're in Super Nintendo World, you are surrounded by Super Nintendo World. And that pretty much applies to the rest of them as well. And so that's really neat. But then, in addition, the hub, you know, is also its own land in a way, unthemed to any specific IP or anything. There is a fun Easter egg I'll get to later, and has some of its own rides too, including an epic roller coaster called Stardust Racers. Amazing. I don't know if we want to get into that right now or perhaps a little bit later, but amazing coaster. And then also, this is where their new hotel, one of their new hotels is. It's actually in the park. It's at the back of the park, in a sense acting as a bit of a landmark, or weenie, if you will, if you're a theme park fan, like the castle at Magic Kingdom. And there's a giant, like, almost Bellagio-style fountain in front of it with shows that go off. I have video of this. I'll be posting it probably right now as you're watching, and it is awesome. We're just walking by and the show started. I'm like, this is great, you know? So, yeah.
So I love that little touch, because you look at other theme parks, and they don't they have, like, a central hub or, like, a centerpiece for the land, or whatever you want to call it, but the hotel is kind of like a new aspect, right?
Yeah.
Like, you look at other parks and it's like, okay, the hotel is walking distance, like, it's going to take you a little bit, but this seems like it's right there for you to just, like, you, like, can look over and it's like, oh my god, I can see everything from, like, my hotel room.
You're literally in the park if you stay at the hotel. You leave that entrance, you are in the park. Like, it is crazy. And the views you have, at least from the park-facing side, I can't speak for the rear-facing side, probably not nearly as impressive, but the park-facing side, you have that fountain view. You can see, I imagine, all the lands. It looks amazing. Even from my hotel, I stayed at the Luna Terra, I think. Terra Luna, I think. And, which is also on, I'm not in the park, but it's on their new property that they bought to build all this. And I could see Epic Universe from my window, and that was really cool. And the shuttle was like a 2-minute ride to the park, so...
So yeah, and let's go back to, like, I guess the center hub of the park, and let's touch up on, like, one of the first 5 areas being the Harry Potter area, right? And this is something that we're seeing new with theme parks, is like they're kind of expanding their IP, their singular IP, into multiple parks, right? Because this is going to be Harry Potter's third
one
at Universal, right?
Yep.
In Orlando, which is crazy to think about. And we can touch up on, like, Nintendo's strategy with that at Universe as well. But yeah, tell me a little bit about this new Harry Potter land at Epic Universe.
Yeah, so again, I wasn't even sure. Everyone didn't know if this would be open or not. And I specifically mean the Battle at the Ministry ride rather than the land itself. Like, we were, you know, everyone was asking, like, the tour guides, all the media were in different groups of tour guides, you know, and they would never tell us anything, really. Like, they wouldn't tell us about what's next on the schedule, or, you know, what's running or not. Thank God it actually was running. And this ride is kind of amazing. I don't want to talk, you know, again, I'm going to try to avoid specific spoilers, but before we even get to the ride, the way it works is you go through the portal, you're in, like, 1920s Paris, or, you know, the Harry Potter's version of that. And it's impressive. Like, you have the, what is it? Basically you enter and there's, like, the Arc de Triomphe, I think. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah, and it is impressive. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's quite life size. I've seen the one in real life, and it is huge. It kind of feels like it is though, because it is massive. It towers over you. Then you walk through that, you're on like the Paris streets. There's tons of interactive stuff in the windows if you have the wands, which I had a wand right here. Oh, here it is. Yeah, here's my wand. I got one like the weakest looking wands though. I don't know what
I was gonna say,
right? Like everyone else had, like a cool one. I'm like, what the heck is this? It looks like a plastic straw. Anyways, and there's little like interactive figures in the windows that, like react to your wand and all that. Then there's a show in the middle if you go through like the circus tent. Unfortunately, I had to skip the show in order to see other things. But I've heard the show was amazing from what I understand. But then you have the ride itself, and how this works is you enter the Metro Flu. So this is how you get from Paris to really the Harry Potter universe, and it takes you, like, it teleports you into what's the I think the Ministry area, and this is where I forget her name, the person who took over the school in the 5th movie, I think. She's on trial, and so you are a witness to, I believe, like, her escape and them trying to get her back under control, and then her eventual, like, outcome. And this ride is just mind-blowing. Some of the biggest, most impressive show scenes I've seen in my life. So you are like boarding an elevator, and it has like actual up and down movement. Don't worry, it's not like Tower of Terror or anything. It's not like any super intense drops or anything.
I was gonna say, that eases my concerns for the ride. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah, and then like you travel through like a bunch of different show scenes, of course, and it's all super well integrated. Like again, I'm gonna try to avoid specific spoilers here, but it almost feels like Transformers on steroids. You know, where like you're on a moving vehicle, you're moving side to side, but also up and down now. And the way in Transformers, like, you know, they did a pretty good job at blending the show scenes with the actual like physical props and stuff, but this ride takes it to a whole new level. Like, you don't feel like in that ride in Transformers, it always felt like there was a clear disparity between the two. Here it feels much more elegant, and there are elements where I'm like, is that a real thing happening, or is that just like, you know, a really well done projection? And I think it was a well done projection, but I can't tell. That's just how well they integrate this stuff. And some of the things they have here are so massive, or like so impressive. Like, I legitimately think these are the grandest show scenes I can recall on a ride, a list of this nature, and it blew my mind in some areas. I'm like, wow, that is cool. I only have two small, actually my main small complaint is I was just hoping for a little bit more of a thrill factor. It's really, you know, a lot of people were fearful of going onto it, but it looks like an elevator just like Tower of Terror. But again, there aren't any drops like Tower of Terror here. They're more like gentle, softer up and down movements. And it, you know, not to say it's like super tame or anything, but it's definitely more family friendly, I think, than some of the other Harry Potter rides, which I think works to its, you know, to some degree to its benefit. But yeah, and also, I forget if I mentioned it, I mean, this actually applies to most of the park, but on this ride in particular, some of the most impressive animatronics I've ever seen. There was one straight up, I'm like, is that just a dude? Like, is he just a guy? And it's not, but it does things that I've never seen like an animatronic do before. I'm like, dear God, Disney might have some trouble on their hands with, at least on the animatronic front, because they are impressive. And there's one that was so big and so cool looking. Like, oh man, that was neat. So, and again, without spoiling anything, there's also one really, the way the ride wraps up is just a really neat, well done, animatronic heavy scene. And I'm like, wow, that's, again, very well done. And also how they incorporated the original cast as well, because I think they had to do it in CG because they're, you know, way older now than they were at the time in the movies, and it looks basically perfect. Like, you think that's actual, you know, the actual actors. And I don't know how much they were involved or not, but it's all just very well done. And again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers. Maybe we'll have, I am planning a live Q&A at some point where I'll answer more questions more specifically, and that's where we'll get more into spoilers there. But yeah, that's in a nutshell, the Ballad of the Ministry ride. Oh my God, I forgot to mention, I didn't talk about the queue. Insane. It actually might be the most insane queue I've ever seen in my freaking life. Like, it's entirely indoors. This massive room. You can see, like, I think what are office buildings with inside them, and you get, like, there's like lights and fans spinning around. I don't think there's any people in them, but like, it looks, I was showing my parents the video of this, and they're like, whoa, like, are those like hotel rooms, or like, are the restaurants here? I'm like, no, this is just the queue for the freaking ride. Like, this is crazy. It's probably the biggest, most insane queue I've ever seen. It almost feels like you're inside a Vegas hotel or something, right? And then even beyond the main room, where you can see, like, you know, there's a giant poster that's moving, where you can see the villain, you know, being arrested, I believe. And then also there's impressive statues. Again, it reminded me of Caesar's Palace at Vegas. There's the ceiling, you can see like lightning effects happening. It really makes it feel like you're outside. But then once you get through that, which did mention that I think the host is saying it's like an 8-hour queue. I don't know if I fully believe that. We're gonna hold 8 hours worth of people, but it can
Oh
hold
my
at least
God.
multiple. I mean, if that's not accurate, it's definitely a ton of people. And then you still go through even beyond the main room. There's tons of other like hallways and rooms to go through. And there's like a pre-show with like a cute little elf, a house elf, I believe, who's got like, or they have a sock dangling off their foot, and it kind of tells you more of the backstory, I believe. Again, all very cute stuff. And then that leads into the actual like boarding area. Anyways, I don't want to belabor the point too much. Just amazing how impressive that is. And I think it may actually be the most impressive queue of all time. I think it probably tops Rise of the Resistance.
That is saying
reveal.
something.
Yeah,
because Rise of the Resistance is one of my favorite rides, and that queue is just, it doesn't even feel like you're on, it feels like you're on a ride from the very begining. Like, you just keep going on. It's like, oh my god, there's a big room, there's a small room. But with this, it's like, it seems like the same thing, right? Like, you start off you're like in the metro, in the subway, and then you're in this ginormous, which I don't even think the videos do it justice, right? Like, you walk in and it's just like, it only gets bigger.
Honestly, the videos for several things don't do it justice. Like, even the fountain show in front of the hotel, like, it's way bigger than it seems. I forgot I talked about, oh, no, I did touch on that earlier, I think. But yeah, the Frankenstein's castle is huge, and then but in being inside the Ministry, the scale is unreal. It is crazy how big it is and how impressive, and just all around you details everywhere. Like they spared no expense when it came to this. I mean, to most of the park, but especially this queue.
Yeah, this ride sounds like outstanding, and it seems like it takes some concerns from previous Harry Potter rides, right? Like if you look at the I'm not good with the names at the parks, but the Hogwarts ride.
Forbidden Journey, right?
Forbidden Journey, exactly. Forbidden Journey, whenever I go on that, I love that ride, but do I get motion sickness? Oh my god. Like, it is just like, and because you're going from screen to practical, from scene to practical, back and forth, and you're constantly moving. You're on your back at some point. So to hear that this ride is more like Transformers, I guess, yeah, I want you to touch up on that a little bit, because even when I'm on Transformers, I get sick. In Transformers, ride vehicle, or even the whole layout for Transformers, is identical, if not the same, to Spider-Man. And both of those rides you have 3D glasses on. So is this anything like that? Do you have 3D glasses on in this ride?
No, that's the interesting thing. I do have one small complaint about that coming up later, but there are no 3D glasses, and I think for this ride, it works. It works without them. I mean, for me, I love 3D glasses. I would almost always prefer them, but I think in this case, you didn't need them, because there's such a sense of scale and depth that the way they would use the screen, they're more backgrounds than they are the focus. And that's why I think it really works so well, because everything happening that really matters is generally practical and in front of you and real, like whether it be animatronics or props moving around or whatever it is. So I think Universal's like really nailing the integration now. Like, this is them operating on almost all cylinders, right? Like, because even with Transformers, I actually really like Transformers, and by extension the Spider-Man ride as well. Some people, everyone loves Spider-Man, some people are if you're on Transformers. But Transformers, like, you can still see, as I mentioned earlier, like kind of clear scene breaks, right? Yeah. And if you're really paying attention, you can see when the scene's even reset if you're looking, if you're looking where you kind of shouldn't be. On this ride, I think that's basically impossible. Now, I didn't go on my way to try and break the illusion, but they do such a good job. Like, with you being in an elevator, it really, like, encloses your field of view to only what they want to see. And what that is it's just a massive show scene. And again, they're also eloquently tied together. Or elegantly tied together. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. The ride doesn't talk to us. I mean, I guess it does. They're eloquent on the ride, too. So elegantly tied together that it just seems like one seamless experience. Like, completely seamless. And that is awesome. Like, that's something that I think Universal struggle with at times, where, like, you can see those clear scenes and changes in the set pieces. But here, man, it is one nonstop, attraction that just feels like it's just, again, firing on all cylinders, So
it definitely seems like they've learned from the past two other Harry Potter rides, right? Like, I've only been on Forbidden Journey. I've seen, what is it? It's not the Ministry of Magic. That's this one. It's Gringotts, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I've never been on that one, but it seems like they learned a lot from this one, and this is more like that family-oriented ride, like you said. Like, anyone could go on it. It might seem big and kind of thrilling at first and overwhelming, but like once you're on, it's like, okay, I get what's going on.
Yeah, no, they did such a great job with it, with pairing the ride vehicle with the experience they wanted. Like the I forget what the Harry Potter ride, the Gringotts ride, the second Harry Potter ride they had built. Like, I felt like that wasn't a great fit for the ride system they went with, because you're on a roller coaster but it's stopping constantly. Yeah. So you're watching a show scene. I'm like, man, this is just kind of like annoying, This ride nails it. Like, you don't have any of those issues from the previous rides. I think this is the pinnacle of that universe, of the HP ride. So
we can move on to our next land. I'm not sure if you saw the show there, but the How to Train Your Dragon or How to Train a Dragon land, correct? Like, what's the name of this one?
Isle of Berk.
Isle of Berk. There we go. And they do have a few rides here, I believe, and I think a show, correct?
Yeah, I saw the show and I went on most of the rides there. I think at least the biggest ones. And yeah, this might be. I think this one might almost be like the densest land. You know, like just with like the amount of things you can do within the area they have. Maybe. You know, maybe comparative to Super Nintendo World. Well, especially if you count all Super Nintendo Worlds like little side games there, that one probably still wins. But Isle of Berk feels like another really packed land with a ton to do and a ton to look at as well. I mean, that applies to all of them. But Isle of Berk did such a great job of like capturing the feel of that world, you know.
I'm so excited. I just got into How to Train Your Dragon. I saw the first movie maybe like a few months ago, maybe a year ago. So I get How to Train Your Dragon now. And even before like seeing Epic Universe, I was really just excited for Super Nintendo World. But now I'm kind of excited for like all the lands, especially in hearing Harry Potter from you. But yeah, going back to How to Train Your Dragon, let's go over I guess all the rides or at least all the ones that you saw, the attractions here at How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, so the ones so I believe they have like I think 3 rides, a training area for like little kids, I think, and then the stage show itself. So I think I did really 3 things there. I did Dragons Racers Rally, which is a really fun roller coaster, kind of in the vein of Hagrid's. If you've done that newer,
yeah.
Which actually that might still be my overall favorite Harry Potter ride. I forgot about that one.
I totally forgot about that one.
Yeah,
too.
I did too. It's amazing. I don't know why I forgot about it. But then there's also a fire drill, which is an interactive boat ride where we squirt each other. We didn't do that because we didn't want to get wet for the whole day. It looks cute and fun, but I wasn't too heartbroken by missing that. But we also did Hiccups Hang Gliders, which is kind of like, it's not a unique ride. Like you can see this at other parks too, and other amusement parks. But what is fun here, and other parks have had this as well, you can control like the wings. So the idea is like you're on a flying contraption, you spin in the air, and if you tilt the wings right, you can not only tilt your angle, you can actually flip yourself entirely over. I got so close, Nick. I was scared at first, but like, no, screw it, I'm going for it. I got so close. I can hear the people commenting behind me like, that guy's almost got it. Like I was like this. I was so close. Like you start off here, I was like this. I was so close to tipping myself over. I couldn't quite make it. I actually probably got more like that actually. And I was alone though I couldn't quite make it. My main complaint with this ride, I actually had a lot of fun, despite it being kind of like an off-the-shelf type ride. But the theming is generally pretty good. But my complaint is it's so freaking short. By the time I finally got a handle like raising and lowering my wings, the ride was ending. I'm like, are you kidding me? We're already done? So yeah, it was like maybe a minute tops, and that was a little disappointing. I wish you got at least double that time, or that they, maybe I missed it, but they should warn you how short it is. Like, hey, if you want to flip over, you better get going ASAP, So, but yeah, that was fun. But the main ride here, I think for most people, will be Dragon Racers Rally, which I don't want to spoil too much. It's a roller coaster, but there are some really cute show scenes. There are animatronics on it that really set it up far more impressive than I expected there to be. And there's also one kind of surprising element in the ride that I don't want to touch on because it kind of caught me off guard and I enjoyed it. So really fun ride. I actually think the most comparative, I think I mentioned earlier it's a little bit like a Tamer Hagrid's, but I think a better comparison might be that it feels a little bit like the Toy Story roller coaster they have.
Oh, the Slinky Dog ride, right?
Slinky Dog ride, yeah. Slinky Dog Dash, I think. This actually feels like I need to go on that one again. I've done it a lot, but it was years ago. But I want to go on it again for comparison. But I think this is actually probably an improved version of that, where there's more going on here, more animatronics, more actual show scene, or actual, like, there's not a ton of show scenes, but more like, feels like there's a bit more of a plot here, and it just feels like, just a little bit better theme. So I think they actually went up Disney in this department, but making a really great family coaster that's still fun and thrilling, without feeling like it's for babies or anything. And it actually kind of, has that Slinky Dog energy, but probably one upset. So yeah, really fun ride.
Yeah, and you talk about these animatronics, and when you were sending me the videos, I'm like, oh my god, it seems like there's a ton of animatronics around this specific land, which that's the thing I've been fearful from Universal for the past, 10, maybe 20 years now, because it's like all their attractions, like, oh, here's another screen-based one, here's another screen-based, where's the animatronics? But it seems like they're all just out in the land for you to take a look at.
That's what's so great about Epic Universe. They've really finally broken away from the complaint of Universal being too screen heavy. Now that's not to say there aren't still screens. Like some people have said, even, and I don't want to skip too far ahead here, that people were saying the Monsters Unchained ride is all practical. That's not entirely true. It's mostly practical. There are still screens integrated, and I think they may be the weakest point. But again, I don't get ahead of myself. By and large, though, this is a great answer to that complaint and to Disney. which has historically struck a good balance of screen-based elements with physical areas. And I think Universal finally figured it out. I never went on a ride and felt like, oh, that's just a bunch of screen crap. We finally got away from that. Thank goodness. And it's to its betterment. Like, I think Universal finally figured out how to use screens to augment what they're doing rather than making that the sole focus. So yeah, and that even extends to them having actual stage shows here. There are two. There's one in Harry Potter, again, I missed that one, but one in Isle of Berk. And I haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon since it came out, 15 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
I will see the remake coming up. Even I'm excited for that, or interested to see it at least. This stage show, but my point is, I don't have any huge affinity for the IP. But I will say, walking in the land, super impressive. The music, amazing. And seeing the stage show, again, I'll avoid specific spoilers of everything, or too many spoilers. But I will say this. So if you want anything at all, skip ahead probably a minute or so. But when I saw, I'm pausing for both emphasis and people will skip ahead.
Yeah.
But when I saw freaking Toothless fly overhead with, the main character riding on top of him, he's flying over the audience. You can look up at him. He's moving. He's an actual animatronic. And then he comes in, you see, everything's, projected, being skies, so you feel like you're flying with him. And then he comes in and lands on the island, which is a stage in front of you, and he stays there on stage, and I'm like, this is amazing. It almost brought me to tears. I don't know why. Something about this, the animatronic, the impressiveness, the music, it all came together beautifully. Now I will say the rest of the stage show I thought wasn't quite as great. It's pretty short. It's only 15 minutes, and I had trouble following whatever story there was. But there was a ton of impressive elements there, and the fact that it almost moved me to tears was impressive. So definitely worth checking out the stage show. It is amazing, at least in a technical sense. I think people who already know the story or remember it will be able to follow it better than I did. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all these points sound amazing, especially this. I'm not one that really goes to the park for shows, but to just sit down for 15 minutes, stay into a cool room, and to see that part happen, I'm oh my god, I'm definitely, if it's only 15 minutes, it's why not just take a break for 15 minutes to check out this amazing show?
And speaking of which, speaking of Toothless, actually, they have one of the best meet and greets I've ever seen. Because I'm not one who normally, I haven't met up with the character since I was a kid, right? Besides Mario and Luigi, I went to Super Nintendo World at Hollywood for its preview. But this is next level. It feels like that is actually Toothless. It looks like Toothless. It behaves like Toothless. It reacts to you like Toothless would. You can touch Toothless. You can pet him on the head or on the nose. So I actually got to not talk to him, but you can talk to him. He won't talk back, but he'll make noises and stuff. And the way he reacts is so freaking believable. I mean, it's just Toothless. That is it. It is just Toothless there. So
wait, and correct me if I'm wrong. This is just a meet and greet, you would meet another character in costume, right? This isn't a person in costume. You just walk over into a specific area, and it is an animatronic that you can take pictures with, right?
I mean, there's a core. He's got his friend handler there. Helps.
Yeah.
Lead people through the interactions, but yeah, no, he's just there. There's a line for it, of course. Luckily, we got to skip all the lines of media, so sorry to everyone else that wasn't able to. But yeah, it was really cool. Again, I think it's one of the most convincing things I've seen. Far more impressive than even the Mario and Luigi meetup. I don't know if that's been enhanced at Orlando, but that one, you can see the seams of the experience, where it doesn't really feel authentic. This feels authentic though, and they did an amazing job. Being able to talk and pet Toothless, me, I don't really care about these kinds of things normally, but I'm dang, they got me. This is so cool, because yeah, it is obviously it's an animatronic, but you don't feel it. It's it's being puppeteered, I'm sure, by someone somewhere. But they do such a seamless experience, you don't see any of that. You just see that's Toothless in front of you.
That's amazing. And yeah, so I guess that's really about everything from this land, right? The How to Train Your Dragon area?
Yeah, that's pretty much everything I saw, beyond you touching on, how impressive the land is itself, with the roller coaster, actually being integrated into it and going, across the water. And then just all the little details around the land. I took a lot of video of that. Seeing... Oh, I mean, actually, I have to touch on this. This Super Nintendo World, which we'll get to, I talked about before, how much they have going on. That largely applies to Isle of Berk too, where you have animatronics outside. We come across an ice dragon at one point. He's moving around, and there's no line for him or anything. He's just there, And,
yeah.
And I didn't get footage of it, unfortunately. But there's one point it just blows icy air onto you, like a mist, and that is so cool. I still think, for me personally, that Pandora is one of the most impressive lands Disney ever built. But it does lack a kinetic sense of movement when you're there. And this is where Universal's absolutely killing it. Like, they are making these worlds feel more alive by having the show elements extend outside of the rides themselves. And that's what I think Disney really kind of needs to step their game up on now. Like, making there being things outside that you can interact with and just, enjoy being there, so.
And that's something I noticed too. It's like, yeah, why have these animatronics like tied to these specific rides when some people might not even enjoy the ride or it might be too thrilling for them? So like, why not bring them outside where literally anyone can see at any point? It seems like that's what Universal's doing a lot more now with their new park.
Right.
But I guess before we move on to the next land or next world, what's the transition like going between these worlds? Because like, if you look at other parks, it really is just like, oh, like here's the barrier, or here's the line between, I guess, like what we'll talk about, like Universal, like Simpsons World or Springfield, and like the Men in Black area. Like there's not really a transition or anything. So for this, is there like just one area that you go to get to the center hub, or is there like multiple exits and entrances?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think Disney, more than Universal, has done a pretty good job of like having those more natural transitions between lands. And Epic Universe is really interesting in that they kind of draw attention to the transition or the almost lack thereof, because I actually, that may not be the best way of putting it, because the idea is you're going through these portals right into each world, and so that portal is your transition into it. So it feels, kind of elegant in that like you're teleporting into this universe, but that also means that it allowed them to not have to try and figure out a way of like naturally making a transition in these worlds. So they kind of worked around it by like drawing attention to that transition and making it cohesive, and it just feels like, okay, well, now I'm in Isle of Berk, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that's kind of unique to Epic Universe, where with again each land only having that one entrance and one exit, like it feels like when you're in Isle of Berk, well, that you're just straight up there. Although I will say this is actually the land I think that may suffer the most right now from just being so early, with the park not being fully mature yet, because it's still early on, in that all the trees they planted, which you can see there are a lot of trees, they haven't fully grown in yet, so you can still like see areas outside of the land. And that's cases, and there's a few other areas like that too. But I think, by and large, the other lands have handled it better for now. But I think once those trees really grow in, that's going to become less of an issue. But for now, the trees are young, so give it a few years and they'll really grow in. That should hide, most of the sidelines, I think, that I noticed while in Isle of Berk. They do kind of take away a little bit, from the experience, but again, should become less of an issue.
Yeah, so I guess let's move on to our next area, which you already touched up on. One of the rides in like the hub area, or like the fifth world, I guess, is the Celestial. Correct me if I'm wrong. What is it? The Stardust?
Celestial Park and the ride itself. They have two. One's like a merry-go-round. We didn't bother with it. The second is Stardust Racers, which is like, this ride is one of the most fun roller coasters I think I've ever been on. This might be the most intense roller coaster in the park, I think. In fact, I think it very definitely is, because there's two separate race tracks, but they launch the coasters together, and so you are like intertwining through each other. And there's one point where like I looked up and like the other coaster like directly above me, and I felt like if I reached out, I could have my hands up. I felt like I could almost high five everyone, And this ride is so fun. Like this ride's crazy because it feels like unfortunately haven't done the Velocicoaster yet. I've heard a lot of people love that ride. It felt like very divisive whether they preferred that ride or this ride. On this ride at least, with a lot of coasters, most coasters in fact, with them largely being gravity based, you have your like you usually have your most momentum early on, then it kind of peters out toward the end. For this ride, I felt like I was just being boosted constantly. Like I felt like there was no stopping in this ride. It was like non-stop action, And it is one of those thrilling coasters I think I've been on in recent times. And it was a total fun. You have amazing views, and just having the two tracks intertwined with each other. We got going both, by the way. I think I slightly prefer the yellow side, which I think is the one we went out. Yeah, the one we went out first. Just felt a little more thrilling. Might have been because it was my first time. But the green side, I noticed the interactions more with the other coaster, where that's when they went over me, where the other coaster was, underneath me at that one point. So yeah, I think you can't go wrong with either side. But yeah, that's just my overall opinion if you had to choose. But they're both amazing, super fun. I got right in the front the second time, had a total blast. And
also for non-thrill seekers like myself, like I enjoy the simpler roller coasters at like Disney World. Like I'll go on Big Thunder Mountain, Space Mountain, and I'll call it a day. It's like, okay, I'm good. But like over at Universal, I haven't even been on like the Hulk roller coaster. I've never been on the what's the music roller coaster? I'm trying to think.
Rock and Roller Coaster at Disney?
No, that's at Disney.
Oh,
what is it? Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. Yeah, Rip Ride Rocket. Yeah, I've never been on that. I'm like,
I hate that
looks
ride.
way
I
too
hate that
intense.
ride.
I heard it's not good. But like compared to those rides, I guess let's compare it to Hulk or even like Rip Ride Rocket. What's the thrill intensity like?
Oh man, I'd say it's pretty. I'd say 8 or 9. Actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'd say 8 or 9. And by comparison to those, by my memory, I think it's more intense than most of those. So the only one I think that I haven't been on it. It sounds like It might be in the same realm as Velocicoaster. Maybe the biggest problem with Stardust Racers is that there's no real theming to it. Like there is like a loose backstory with there being 2 gods or something, like one of light and one of speed, I think, and they represent both coasters. I don't think there was like any pre-show though. Maybe we missed it because we were skipping the lines and stuff. But there's no real theming around the roller coaster. Beyond it just being a roller coaster, Except there is one really cool element, really fun Easter egg. So if anyone wants to avoid this Easter egg, skip ahead maybe a minute or so. That we don't. It's not a huge thing, but if you want to hear any fun Easter eggs, but it was fun for me to discover myself. Again, skip ahead a minute. All right, on the back of these roller coasters, there's like a little like energy box powering them. I'm pretty sure it's straight up a flux capacitor. Like the
no
thing
way!
From Back to the Future. It is. It looks identical to the flux capacitor. Like the lights, going along the lines to the center. I'm pretty sure that's a direct reference. And I'm like, that is really cool. That's really fun. So
that has to be a nod. And for people that don't know why that's a nod and so cool, is because Back to the Future was one of the first rides. At least it opened up like maybe a few months after Universal in Florida, but it was one of the first rides there, which was replaced by the Simpsons ride, unfortunately.
Right,
but to see a little tidbit like that, like brought back, if that's actually the case, that's amazing.
I know. Unfortunately, by this point, we couldn't have our phones on us because you have to go through metal detectors, and you can't have like anything on you.
Oh wow!
So I wasn't able to grab a picture of that. But man, it was really cool seeing that. But yes, I love Back to the Future. So yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll move on to our next land, which is going to be the Monsters Universe. Is that correct?
Yeah. Dark Universe.
Dark Universe.
And this has, I believe, 2 main attractions. I gotta go on both of them, being Monsters Unchained, the Frankenstein Experiment, and then also the Werewolf roller coaster. I forget the name for it. But yeah, so the Werewolf roller coaster, fun, cute. No real show scenes really. It's more of a family ride than anything. What's the neat gimmick with this one is like your roller coaster, like the car
spins. Right?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just like naturally with how the roller coaster moves, like it just naturally spins, or if they're doing anything to power it. But that was really fun. It reminded me a little bit of like the Finding Nemo roller coaster they have at Disneyland Paris.
Oh yeah, Crush. Yeah,
Crush. Yeah, what's it called? Crush's.
It's Crush something. I believe the turtle's name's Crush. I can't remember the name of it.
But very similar to that. Really fun. Also pretty short. But you're basically going back and forth along a track, and then you're spinning along the ride along the way. It's fun, but not the highlight of this land. Which, for one, the theming of this land, amazing. You walk through a little village, love it. I actually wish the village were a little bit bigger. It's actually pretty short, but there's like a well with like steam coming out even during the day. I'm sure at night it looks amazing. Unfortunately, we weren't there at night.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, my concern was, I mean, like, this is an area you want to kind of, like, check out at night, right? Because, I mean, like, you don't want to see horror stuff during the day. It's like, oh, wait, that's not spooky. That's not jumping out at me. But if it looks good during the day, like you're saying, that they did a good job with the theming then.
Yeah, no, and, yeah, the village all looks great. The well, love it, with the steam pouring out. Or the fog, whatever. And then Frankenstein's castle is freaking nuts. And this queue is almost as nuts as Harry Potter. I mean, not to the same degree, but you actually enter Frankenstein's castle, or Dr. Frankenstein's castle, I guess, and you go through like several rooms of it. There are, I think there's at least one main pre-show, but there are other rooms that almost feel like parts of the pre-show. Like they build up to it. They do amazing. You can see different Frankenstein-like experiments happening, including you even see like a dissected Frankenstein, and I think it may be like the original Frankenstein model from the movies they were telling me. I don't know if I misheard, but then they have this cool x-ray thing in front of it, so you look through the x-ray and you're seeing Frankenstein's bones and stuff. And I think that was like an earlier version of Frankenstein, because the one in the ride is like a newer version, I believe. And so that's all amazing. But then the pre-show itself, oh my god, this pre-show is amazing. Now, unfortunately, This is the only animatronic, one of the animatronics here. It's the only one in the entire park that wasn't working properly. Luckily, there's a screen as well that's basically acting out the same thing that the animatronic should be doing. But luckily, she's not even the most impressive animatronic in the room, because what they do during this pre-show, again, some spoilers here, everyone. So if you don't want any pre-show spoilers, skip ahead. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. But one of the most impressive things is you actually see, everyone skipped it past it. Just make sure people have time. You actually see Frankenstein come to life, and like the spotlight shines onto him. I think he blocks the bright light. He walks toward you. This hulking giant animatronic walks toward you, and then the way he moves is super impressive, super smooth. His fingers actually move, which is something Disney's been stepping away from us for some reason. If you look at their animatronic hands, even the impressive ones, they often don't do anything. They just like twist and move, and the fingers don't do anything. It's super weird. Frankenstein fully moves to the point, even like when the pre-show's over, he even points you to go out the door. Yeah, exactly. I wish I could have a video. I'm like, I missed the best part. But super impressive. And the queue is also extremely great for this. And it leads up to what is overall a really impressive experience. For many people I've heard so far, well, actually, accepting Battle of the Ministry, but that wasn't open. But before that, everyone was saying this is one of their favorite rides at the park, because what it does is it takes, again, some light spoilers here, but I'm not going to spoil any story-based elements really. I don't know if I even could. There's so much happening here that I don't know if I fully understood what was even happening, and that maybe is one of my complaints of the ride. But there's so much going on, but it uses a kind of an evolution, if not the exact same ride system as Forbidden Journey, the very first Harry Potter ride.
Yeah.
15 years ago now, or around there, where you're riding on that giant mechanical arm type thing. And they even show you in one of the pre-show rooms, they show you the ride, a little model of it, because it's part of the experience. This is one of Dr. Frankenstein's creations, right?
Oh.
And so that's really cool. So you're going on this ride as all the monsters are let loose, and you're being thrown around with this crazy arm. They can go even upside down at points. You're on your back, and this whole ride, because you encounter so many classic Universal monsters, including ones emerge suddenly, often in animatronic form. Some of the best animatronics I've seen. Just like with Battle of the Ministry, some of these are amazing here. They're all basically amazing, sorry, my point more is, this to me really feels like, if you've been to any of those waterfront,
I'm trying to think.
What boardwalks. So thank God.
Oh, boardwalks. Okay, yeah.
Boardwalk, carnivals, right? And they have the classic haunted house style attraction. You're on a dark ride, and things pop out at you. This kind of felt like that, but way more modern, way more intense. You're being thrown around in this ride vehicle. You have the most impressive animatronics ever, in your face. And there's different sensations. Again, I'm trying to avoid too many spoilers, but there is so much going on. It really blew me away with just the theming and how much is happening, to the point where it's almost hard to follow at points. It kind of felt like we're almost going through a monster zoo, just a lot of monsters popping out, and it's overall extremely impressive. It's the kind of ride I need to go on again to fully understand what was actually going on. But yeah, it's super well done, and it's just crazy, just just how much is happening, and just the way they incorporated all the special effects and everything, really well done. The most impressive form of a classic style, boardwalk dark ride you could possibly have. And I mean that in the best way possible. So.
Yeah, and I don't want to touch up on the actual ride vehicle, because you said it's the Forbidden Journey. And like I said, I enjoyed that ride, but whenever I get on, I do get a little bit of motion sickness, because you're jumping from screen-based to practical to screen to practical. So with this, what do you like going between scenes? Is it something similar to that, where it's screen-based and practical animatronic? Are you going back and forth?
So by and large, this is, as far as I can tell, they don't do any of that. So with Harry Potter, there's points where, you're just looking into a dome screen, right? And that didn't help
And it's
either.
ginormous. It's huge.
It's a big dome screen, but that's what really I think tripped a lot of people off. It's been exhausting here. It's been a long few days. I'm sorry. Anyways, as far as I'm aware, there's none of that here. So almost everything is practical. There are still some screen-based elements, but as I was saying with Battle of the Ministry, they're incorporated far better than Universal has done in the past, to the point where they're generally more background elements. There is a scene or two that was screen based, and it was kind of clearly screen based, and that did take me out of it a little bit, especially because there's no 3D glasses here. I don't think there's any 3D glasses at all.
At any of the rides here in Epic Universe.
Yeah, but
that's good to hear.
Well, for some people, absolutely. I myself kind of like. I don't mind the 3D when it's done well, and they've been taking away from some rides that were built with 3D in mind, like King Kong, that no longer has 3D, which I think is to its detriment.
That's odd.
Yeah, so anyways, by and large, again, it's not a big issue, but there were some clear elements of this ride on occasion where I'm like, okay, that's a screen, and, they're projecting a character onto a screen, and that did kind of take me out a little bit. Especially because there is some, you mentioned the scaling with Toothless earlier, where that was flawless. I didn't notice any major differences. Here, you can tell that characters change size, like when it's an animatronic versus on screen, and that was a little bit weird. Overall, it's handled really well, but there were a couple moments that I'm like, I kind of wish they'd done this a little bit differently. It actually reminds me of a scene from Indiana Jones, the ride, which is overall an amazing ride like this is, but there's one element that always looks so cheesy to me, where they have like this weird like skeleton or like ghost projection on the scrim. It's so cheap and dumb looking. And this one, the version of that here is not that cheap and dumb looking, but you can still tell, like you can see through the effect and how they're achieving it. I'm like, maybe they should have worked on that a little bit longer. I think had they incorporated 3D somehow into it, it will have looked better, because you can tell like when it's a 2D element versus 3D. But again, I'm kind of nitpicking. Most of this ride is physical, and when they use screens, it generally is augmenting the physical elements. It's only when they really focused on the screen, again, not to the degree that Harry Potter did, because the screens are still presented within like a physical experience. And but by and large, it's a really impressive ride. And also to your point, sorry, this has been a really long, roundabout way. But yeah, I don't think people are getting really motion sickness on this, because again, it's mostly physical. So I don't think they're gonna be tripped up on it like they were with Harry Potter. Now, I do want to stress this ride is still kind of intense, especially with how you're being thrown around on your back, like you're being thrown all over the place. And so the people may still want to avoid it, especially if you have probably like back issues or any other related issues like that. And I think Universal's got plenty of warning signs. But yeah, I thought it was a really fun ride. I need to go on it again just to parse what exactly is happening.
Yeah, the actual story.
That's exactly it. But I think one area that Universal doesn't always quite hit on, and I think this might be a good example of it. I don't really know what the story was, like there was so much happening, and I think it was just like a bunch of monsters just popping out at me, and maybe that is a story, so it's just fun to look at that. But I had trouble like following, if there was a story, what that actually was. But beyond that, super fun. Had a really fun ride, impressive, building it's in with the castle and everything, and people are gonna be really excited for this, I think.
Yeah, before we move on to this, I have a few like rapid fire questions. How long does the ride feel, and does it feel very similar to like Forbidden Journey? Like, is it going to be like Transformers and Spider-Man, where it's like, oh, this is just basically Spider-Man but with Transformers over it? Or is it like, oh, it's just the same ride vehicle, but each scene feels pretty unique compared to Forbidden Journey?
Oh man, this one, it's hard to compare to anything except for, I guess, Forbidden Journey, just by the nature of how the ride works. But yeah, otherwise it felt really unique. Like it never felt like, again with Forbidden Journey, it felt like you could tell like the scene, this is one scene, this is the next scene. Here it's much more, again, elegantly tied together, and that's something again they did really well with Battle of the Ministry, where it doesn't feel like you're going scene to scene. It really feels like one continuous journey, and maybe that's partly why it's hard to follow the story, because maybe there really isn't one. It just feels like you're going to just a whole bunch of different experiences, but there is continuity between them, and again, just really well done. So I have trouble like comparing it to any other really ride I can think of off the top of my head. So I mean, I guess the closest would be maybe Rise of the Resistance, because that is also like one really well done continuous journey. Where you don't really feel like, oh, I'm in the Kylo Ren scene here, now I'm in this scene. Like that one is handled again, I feel like really smoothly. So
yeah, it's just natural. It's just like like you said, here's Kylo Ren, he's chasing me. It's not like, oh, Kylo Ren's in scene 1 and he's all the way at scene 5 now.
Exactly.
Like, okay, this, like the werewolf or Frankenstein, if they're chasing you, like maybe they'll run away back in the distance, and then the next one might come in because you see them in the background or something.
Exactly.
Like that.
No, you're doing a better job describing this by not being on it than I am. Again, I'm trying to avoid spoilers too, but I don't know if I even could. But there's so much happening. I can only remember like fragments of this ride, and some of those fragments are amazing. But yeah, there is a lot happening here, and it will absolutely reward rerides. I think perhaps even more than the Ministry about the Ministry.
Oh, wow.
But that one, I mean, for better or worse, I mean, that one is easier to follow, I think, and I think that works to its benefit. But this ride is just like complete chaos, the Monsters ride, and yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume the Ministry, since like they're bringing back like Daniel Radcliffe and like the main characters from Harry Potter, that they're actually talking to each other. But like I assume on the Monsters ride, like the monsters are maybe like, oh, like they're just speaking like a gibberish language. Like some of them probably speak English, but it's like for the most part they're probably just yapping.
Exactly,
at each other, right?
like Wolfman's not talking to you, but I think Dracula does say some things. Then you also have Dr. Frankenstein herself, I believe. I guess it's her daughter or his daughter, the original Dr. Frankenstein. I don't know the full backstories here, everyone. I apologize. In any case, yeah, and she talks to you a couple of times throughout, and she's a helper as well that like talks as well. So there's so there is still some of that, but yeah, the monsters themselves are just like popping out and like making growling noises, and that's really fun. They did a great job of updating these monster designs while still carrying that classic energy of them through. So
yeah, and I guess before we get on back to the first question, how long's the ride and how like scary is the actual ride?
I don't have an exact length. I'd say it's probably within the 3 to 4 minute range is my guess. Not counting the pre-show, of course. And how scary? I would say I could see it being for kids. I think it'll freak them out. I think it's really intense. I mean, as an adult, it's intense, but like at no point was I actually like scared by it. I didn't find like anything to be actual jump scares. For me personally, but I'm pretty immune to like that at this point. I have a feeling some people who haven't been on as many rides as I have, or aren't as immune to it, I think they may be frightened because there are things that are in your face, very much so. You get pretty close to these animatronics. It's all really well done and very impressive. But yeah, so I myself wasn't scared, but it was intense though. So
especially if you're a Dead by Daylight pro, right?
Exactly.
Like, you're aware of monsters.
Yeah. Bingo, you're right. I know all these guys. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's really it for this area, right? Before we move on to Super Nintendo World.
That's right. Yeah, I think we'll move on. Yeah. I mean, of course, Everland has, I'm sure, even additional stuff that we didn't have time to see, like smaller things, and like I didn't have time to go into the shops at Dark Universe. But yeah, I think we'll move into Super Nintendo World, which is, as one who went to the Hollywood one and now seeing the Orlando one, which is largely based on the Japan one. Oh my god, this is so freaking impressive. Like, you feel like you are in Mario's universe. Yeah. And if you look around you, I'm probably showing video of it right now, it is crazy how much is going on here. Like, I felt that way already in Hollywood, but here it's probably like double, if not more. There is crap everywhere. Like, there's enemies, coin spinning, blocks moving around, thwomps dropping. I saw a Shy Guy. Unfortunately, another slight show or animatronic that wasn't working yet, but this is all outside. I looked up at one point and saw bullet bills like hidden in the corner. Like, I don't know where else you can see them. I saw Spinies walking around on the way to the DK section. Oh my god, it is overwhelming how much is going on here, and I love it. That's great. Of course, like Hollywood, there's a bunch of different like games you can play, like the Snoozing Prom Plant. And there's one with like a roulette wheel, which isn't in Hollywood, I believe. And tons of others. I didn't bother with them this time because I was on a time crunch, and I knew the basic idea of them. But yeah, that was super impressive, and it's definitely, if you've been to Hollywood, it's almost like a whole new experience in Orlando. I mean, it isn't. That may be overselling it a little bit. Like, they did a good job in Hollywood too, but that feels like this on a grander scale. But especially once you factor in, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I guess once you factor in the Donkey Kong segment as well, which is again not at Hollywood at all, it really does make it feel more like its own thing. But by and large, it feels like Hollywood on a grander scale, with all the same similar mini attractions, including the Bowser Jr. The final show you can unlock if you do all the other, or some of the other attractions, and I don't want to spoil too much for those who don't know. I enjoy that in Hollywood. I'm sure I would like that just as much here. But then you have the Mario Kart ride, which is, as far as I can tell, identical to Hollywood. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to walk through the cubes. We went in through the exit this time. That may be more impressive than Hollywood's, maybe. I think it's based on Japan's, which did look better. The ride itself, though, practically identical. Although it's funny, having now been probably a year since I was on it last, I almost found it to be overwhelming again. Like, because the first time I felt that same way, and then going on it on repeated visits, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get how this ride works again. But now going on it again, I'm like, man, this ride, there's so much going on, which I think is almost to his detriment. Because he uses like the AR goggles, and it just feels like a lot, and you don't always know where to look. And it's still fun, but I do think now, after having gone into the DK section, I think that ride, the Minecart Madness ride, takes the crown for being the best Super Nintendo World ride.
Yeah, so and then again, I guess before we get into Donkey Kong, once you appear in Super Nintendo World, at least the Mushroom Kingdom, you don't even see Donkey Kong Country. Is that correct?
No, yeah. I mean, I can see people like missing it entirely. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of hidden down like a little alley, right? Then you go through its own portal into Donkey Kong. So yeah, they did a great. I mean, for better or worse, I kind of wish they just make it like one giant combined world. For whatever reason, they want to separate it with a tunnel, so it kind of feels like you're entering a whole new like mini land, and that is kind of cool in its own way. But yeah, like you don't even see it when you're in Super Nintendo World. And that's, impressive on its own because there was so much to see in Super Nintendo World itself, as I was already saying. Walking through, like, going through the warp pipe, exiting into, or I guess entering into Peach's castle, but then you exit out the front of it into the Super Nintendo World itself. That's all still amazing. Like, like, every time it's an impressive experience, and more so here than it was in Hollywood. Because it's the scale of everything is so much more grander. Like seeing Mount Beanpole, all the movement happening around you, like far more than any other land in the world. Like no other land has more kinetic energy than this, than Super Nintendo World at Orlando and probably Japan. It is amazing, and I can't get enough of that. So that it just feels like almost an attraction in its own, especially when you factor in all the little games you can do. Like, I guess going off that, this might be the most, like, dense land of any of them. There's just stuff to do around every corner. Even the, question blocks, like your power-up band, which I'm not wearing right now. You can hit the question blocks, of course, which I think if people have been following theme parks for a while, they all know all this. It's not new, but it's been Hollywood and Japan 4 years ago. But yeah, it's still cool, still fun. And very, very well done here.
Yeah, and let's move on, I guess, to like Donkey Kong in that aspect too, because you bring your wristband over to Donkey Kong Country, and there's other interactables there, right?
Yeah, there's like a little Kong letters you can light up, I think, and make a noise when you touch them. I think I took a brief video of that. There's I don't know what all else there is. I think the drums may factor in too, and you play the drums like Rambi pops out.
Yep.
I wish we had spent more time in this. Unfortunately, we're kind of being rushed at this point because it's toward the end of the day, so I wasn't able to explore, taking in as much detail as I would have wanted to. But I will say the land itself is impressive. Like the mini land of Donkey Kong Country is just amazing, especially with you see the waterfall pouring out of like the golden monkey statue temple thing, golden temple. Amazing. I posted a video of this already, and I've had many people in Japan who've been to Super Nintendo World in Japan commenting on it or quote retweeting and being like, man, I wish we had that here, because Japan got stuck with the mist for whatever reason. I guess they didn't have the room to accommodate what was needed for the waterfall, but man, I wish they did. It looks so good. But the waterfall just looks gorgeous to a degree. Like, it feels like you're in like a video game or something. I mean, not that water isn't inherently gorgeous, but like the way they presented it here is just wonderful. I love it, and it adds so much to it. It just makes it feel more grander, and adds more energy to the park as well. And it just looks better, just more beautiful than having a mist emit. So.
And it seems more natural to the ride, because there is one portion of the ride which we'll get to in more detail, but don't you like go over like the water, or there's like a little splash effect or something?
Right, and I think that part's still in Japan, but it makes less sense there because there's no like water feeding into it. Maybe it's not there actually. I don't even know. I think I have videos of it I could compare it to, but in any case, it looks amazing here, and the minecarts like go through the water. I think they create like a spray maybe. Yeah, and then so the whole land beautifully themed. It looks amazing. I think. Yeah, it's just great. And it has a little bit more of a naturalistic feel than Super Nintendo World does. With it being based on 3D World, it kind of feels a little bit more artificial, just due to the nature of how those levels were designed. Still amazing though. But yeah, I really like the theming of Donkey Kong. Like, it feels like they really brought that to life. Like, that's how I will have pictured Donkey Kong looking in real life. And I think, to an extent or not even to an extent, that extends to the Minecart Madness ride itself. Like, this feels the most true. Like, it feels more true to me to the nature of the Donkey Kong minecart levels in the games than the Mario Kart ride does to Mario Kart. And I think they nailed it here. I've seen the complaints. I even had a few myself watching videos of the Japanese one, but having gone on it, I think those are way overblown. There's maybe one small. Sorry, I'm running out of breath at this point.
Yeah.
There is one small part of the ride that I have a slight issue with, but it almost makes up for it with how well it handles the effect of the idea of this ride, which is that you're basically on an out-of-control minecart. There often isn't a track at points, or they make it look like you're not on a track. So either like you're flying over a track, where there is nothing below you, which is really well done, after being blasted out of a barrel, or when you go into the like the crystal cavern, and the track is literally broken in front of you, so you have to hop between tracks, and that's a cool sensation in the world. I've never felt that before, where like on any roller coaster, where like the whole roller coaster is designed to feel like more rough and rugged than any other, intentionally than any other in the world. And you really feel that during those jumping segments where you land on a track and you feel that impact, or when you're jumping between tracks. I'm like, dear God, this actually feels authentic. Like, this really captures the spirit of the games. Then there's the animatronics during the ride, which if you go by the videos and you pause it and go frame by frame, you can tell they're not the most amazing animatronics. Where on the ride itself, they completely sell the experience. They're perfect for it. Like, they do such a great job when you see like some spoilers here. You see Donkey and Diddy on another minecart coming at you, and then you have the Tiki boss or whatever, the main Tiki guy doing his thing, and it's all well done. It's all great. This to me feels like Universal's Big Thunder Mountain. That's what it feels like to me. I think that's a great compliment. Just a little bit more modern, of course.
And Big Thunder Mountain might be my favorite roller coaster at Disney.
It's so good, yeah.
I love it. I love the theming of it. I love how intense it feels, even though I don't think it's going too fast. At segments it is. My biggest complaint of Big Thunder Mountain is the very beginning when the bats are going off or like the boulders are shaking. I'm like, it's too loud.
It's too loud.
That's just me getting older. I'm like, I can't hear anything going on. But with this ride, like I was playing some Donkey Kong last night and I was playing the kart level, and my heart, even just playing the game, my heart jumps because I'm like, oh my God, am I going to land it? Am I going to make it? And do you get that sensation here? Like when you're jumping off the barrel, like is the illusion ever broken when you're looking off to the side or something that you can see the additional track? Or does it really feel like, oh, I'm flying off, I'm landing, hopefully I'm going to land on this next track in front of me?
I mean, yeah, I almost wish I hadn't known how it worked going into it, because I think it might have surprised me more and made me question how is this even working, right? Because I think overall, obviously, if you're looking to know how they're doing the trick, you can figure it out. They do a pretty good job of hiding it in most instances, and I think, I could be wrong, I only rode in the front. I think if you're in the back, I have a suspicion that might be even more convincing, because when you're in the front, there's nothing, you can see everything, and there are a couple of times where I'm like, okay, you can kind of see how that works there, But I think if you're not paying attention, if you're just like in the moment, I think it's extremely well done. And, it's the kind of ride too, even if you know how it works, like it's still fun knowing the trick, and it's still fun experiencing how they pull it off. So, because it's a family ride at its heart, and just a really well done one. I think it's just really fun, really great. It's probably one of my top attractions at the park in general, just because it completely nailed what it was going for. It's telling a simple story, but you know what that story is, and there's key animatronics along the way, and it has a unique factor, which is something I love about rides. Like when the unique factor, it like perfectly works with the experience, and that it does here. It perfectly captures that chaotic minecart ride experience that we've been playing for 30 years plus now, right? And they killed it here. They nailed it. I loved it. So.
Yeah, so we asked some rapid fire questions for this specific ride, because I have a ton. Because again, I haven't been on it yet, and it sounds amazing. So let's start with, I guess, is there a sensation at all, like not Big Thunder Mountain, but what is it called? Mount Everest. I can't remember the name. Magic or Animal Kingdom. Expedition Everest. Yeah, that's right. Because at one point you do see the track and it's completely broken.
Right.
So like that's one question. I'll start with that one. Does it feel like a sensation like that, where it's just like, oh my God, I'm gonna fall off this roller coaster?
I'd say the part that really sells it the most is inside the cavern I mentioned, where that's where you really see there's no track ahead of me. Like, what is going to happen here? And then you manage to like hop over the other track, and that is so freaking well done, to the point that even knowing how it works, it still convinces you, like, oh my God, they're nailing it here. So that's the closest I'd say. Like the difference with Expedition Everest is like you literally stop there, so you have time to soak it in, Whereas this one is very rapid fire, like the games, and so it doesn't give you that time to really let it sink in. But that almost works to its benefit. It's like, oh my God, we are literally out of control right now. What's gonna happen, And again, that's handled very well. So I will touch on my main complaint here, and I mentioned it before, and other people have as well, is that in that room, for whatever reason, that room seems really poorly themed. Like, you can, like, see, like, people in the videos we had seen from Japan, like, you can see the roof and stuff, and people are like, oh, maybe, it won't be as bad you know, when you're actually there in person. And no, it kind of is just as bad.
Oh no.
I know, because you can see the walls. It feels like a really narrow room. I'll bet you at night it's probably really convincing, but most people won't be riding at night. Most people are going to be riding there in the broad daylight. And I don't know why they didn't, you know, put more crystals on the walls, like, you know, really deck out that room. I can't think of a reason why they wouldn't be able to. I don't know if it's a budget issue or maybe there is some technical issue why they couldn't. At the least, I would have extended the cavern and like make it even darker inside to make it so at least you can't see the walls. But yeah, it's really weird. You only have like this one crystal in front of you, you know, and so it feels like a really weak crystal cavern, and that's the only part of the ride that I think falters. And again, it's almost made up for the fact by how convincing the track hopping effect is. I just wish it were enhanced by a better setting around it, and everything else is brilliantly done. You know, I don't know why that's the part they messed up on, but again, otherwise the ride itself during that portion is amazing. So.
Yeah, so I mean that's unfortunate to hear because I have seen videos on that part, and I was like, maybe it's just like first time showing, and maybe they're gonna add it later. Like you said, maybe they have restrictions. Like that should be where the crystals are, because you are like in a cave almost like setting or the temple, so it makes sense to have everything decked out. But I think there's like one animatronic in front of you or something. Is it like the mole?
Yeah,
like miner or something like that.
Yeah, and yeah, he might be the weakest animatronic too for me.
Does he at least move or anything, or
he
is
like
it just...
walks back and forth? I think, but he's not really going anywhere or doing anything, you know. So again, this room is so weird because on the one hand, the track switching effect, amazing, but yeah, the actual theming of the room is bad. And I don't know why this is the only... it's the only part of the entire freaking park that I would say is poorly themed. And I don't know why that is, you know? I don't know what happened there. So hopefully they can enhance it in the future, because otherwise the ride's brilliant. It's really well done. And I think even lingering on this room for too much, you know, does a ride a disservice, but it's a really fun ride, really well done. And even if that part should be improved, you know, it doesn't take away too much from what's otherwise a fantastic experience.
Oh my god, I'm so excited to ride it. But again, I have a few more questions on it.
Okay.
What's the cart like? I guess how many people are fitting on the actual ride itself at once? How fast is the ride? Like, is it thrilling? Again, I'm not a thrill seeker, but I like Big Thunder Mountain. Yeah. I like dark rides. And how long is the actual attraction when you're on it?
Yeah, again, it's probably on the shorter end. I would say it's probably 2 minutes tops.
Oh, so it's really short.
It's pretty short, yeah. But it packs a lot in that time. Speed-wise, I'd say it's probably similar to Big Thunder Mountain speeds. Again, I don't have the exact speed in front of me right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say it's comparable through a level of that. I mean, the boost again at the beginning when you're launching out the barrel cannon, that actually felt pretty significant. So they did a good job making it feel like, you know, you're making it feel thrilling in that instance. And as for people, there's 4 people per cart. So 2 in front, 2 in back.
Yeah, so I mean, is there anything else you want to touch on like this land specifically? Oh, I guess I have another question. What is the most theming wise for Donkey Kong games that are part of Donkey Kong Country? Like, are we looking at Tropical Freeze? Are we looking at like Donkey Kong 2 and 3, 1? Like, what's it most theming after?
Oh, it's straight up Donkey Kong Country Returns, like all the way through. It's very clearly based almost entirely on that game. I think the only exception is Dixie being there because she was only in Tropical Freeze. Yeah. So she is like the one exception. Everything else is straight up DKCR. So, which is, yeah, it's a little weird timing with them opening this brand new Donkey Kong land as they just announced a brand new Donkey Kong game with a new look for Donkey Kong, you know? So I don't know how Universal feels about that. Like, really, Nintendo, you're gonna throw us under the bus like that and just screw up the thing we've been planning for 10 years? But I don't think it matters. I mean, a lot of people actually prefer the Rare design right now, right? Yeah. So if you want that Rare design, go here. Or I guess technically the retro version of the Rare design, right? But yeah, go here and you'll get it. And I think it still looks great. I don't think it's a detriment to the park at all. And yeah, it's just really well done land. So definitely check it out. And yeah, make sure you don't accidentally ignore it when you're in Super Nintendo World, but they kind of hid in the back corner there. It's really kind of weird how they handled that. So
would you say this is the best theming wise? Like, I guess best translation from a game to an actual ride for the Nintendo specific rides at Super Nintendo World. Like Yoshi doesn't, I mean, I haven't been on the Yoshi one because it's like an Omni mover, and the Mario Kart ride I wish it was a little bit more thrilling, but the Donkey Kong ride seems like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, like this seems like the best job from the game to the ride.
Absolutely. I mean, if it were up to me, I will handle the Mario Kart ride entirely differently. For what it is, I think it is fun, and the more you go on, the more I appreciate it, but at the end of the day, Donkey Kong Country, Minecart Madness, that is how I think that's how the Nintendo Land ride should be, where it actually feels like you're experiencing that in real life. And that's where the Mario Kart ride totally falters, because it doesn't really feel like Mario Kart, you know? You're not racing, you're not going fast at any point. They try to make it feel like you are, and It's kind of convincing a couple of times, but not really. You know, you always know you're like in a slow plodding vehicle. And Mario Kart never really, like, you know, for me, Mario Kart is ultimately about the racing more than it is the items. So that's a key component. But the ride goes in all in on the item idea, but not just that, but specifically the shells. And there's more to Mario Kart than just firing shells either, or, you know, too. So, yeah, I kind of wish... I want to make the whole video at some point, my ideas for how they could improve Mario Kart with what they have. I think they could do more to make it better with the existing infrastructure, but obviously they're not going to demolish it at this point. And I don't think they should. It's a good ride still. But yeah, Donkey Kong, perfect. And I hope if there's more future Nintendo World rides, I hope there are. Like, oh, I forgot to mention this. I saw Link in the stained glass window at the Nintendo World store right outside, right outside the park, or so not the park, right outside Super Nintendo World. That could hint at a future possible Zelda expansion, and I hope they nail it there too. You know, if they carry the energy for Donkey Kong to the Zelda universe, I think we're in good hands as long as they don't screw up a ice crystal cave room. You know, so.
Yeah, and that's something I'll touch up on Zelda in like a second, but the Mario Kart rides theming I think is very, very good. Like when you go from scene to scene, it's like, oh my god, like I love the animatronics. That there's not too much of them, but I love when you're starting at like the Mario circuit, and then you're in the water place, and then you're in like the Luigi's Mansion style place. I wish that was carried over to like the Crystal Cavern, right? Where it's just not like, here's the one crystal and maybe the one animatronic. I wish there was a little bit more there for your eyes to see. Yeah. But my fear, and maybe we'll touch up this on in another video, but a quick thing with the Zelda ride is I hope they translate it well, just like they did for the Donkey Kong ride. Yeah, like I wish it's like, oh my god, this is something I played at home and I can experience the thrills at a theme park that I can't really do at home. Like this is amazing.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm at. So I think if Donkey Kong is a sign of things to come, I think we're going to be excited for what they end up making, when they finally end up making Zelda. So that's been it's been rumored for a while, but I think seeing Link at the park itself is a very good sign of things to come, because obviously they have the rights to use them now, seemingly, and yeah, I'm excited for that potential future. So, but yeah, I guess do you have any other questions, Nick, specifically, or?
No, I'm gonna make a quick comment. It'd be unfortunate if they use like Ocarina Link or Breath of the Wild Link, and they change his design with the newest game. Like the park comes out first, and then the next mainline Zelda game comes out, and they're just like, no, he's gonna wear like a red tunic now instead of the blue or the green.
Yeah, right. That'd be something. Yeah, no, I think I want the classic style Link, right? For this, yeah, the green hat and everything, and especially with the movie coming up too. We'll see what they end up doing with that, which could play a possible factor in how the Zelda ride ends up being, because now they're operating, it's both companies, or no, it's not Universal handling Zelda movie.
It's Sony.
It's Sony, right? So
it's like there's three different hands in it. Unlike where it's just like Nintendo and Universal. It's like, okay, we're making the new Donkey Kong game. Right. It's like there could be three different versions of Link going on at once. That is wild. Which might there should be synergy between the parks though and the movies and the game. So to have three different Links, it might be a little confusing.
But where it gets weird is Universal is also like a movie production company.
It is,
like Sony. So it makes you wonder, like, do they have like a Church of State style thing here, where like Universal can't know anything about the Sony movie, right? But with Nintendo at that central party that obviously knows what's happening in both, like, can Nintendo inform them? Like, I would like, how this is getting complicated, right? This is like the weirdest threesome of all time. Yeah. So, anyways, it'll be interesting to see like what ends up happening there. But so far, it seems like the idea is that these universes, or sorry, Nintendo World attractions are based on the game. So seemingly, it would be based on, if not an existing game, a future one, but most likely one that's already out. But they have they can pick they have their pick of the litter, if not even combining them all in a way to really kind of like capture the essence of multiple of them. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see which style of Link they go with and what kind of ride they'll go with, which we'll probably touch up on like another video. But again, like I'm so excited, I'm interested, a little bit concerned of like what kind of ride we'll get for a Zelda ride. I'm just hoping it's not like a show or anything. Yeah. I really want it to be something thrilling and unique.
Exactly, same here.
Yeah. So is there anything we need to touch up on? I think we covered most of the worlds or lands, right?
So what I want to do is, I think I'll host a Q&A soon, a live Q&A, probably tomorrow, if I get this video up, when I hope I do. And you guys can all, everyone watching it, ask me additional questions. We'll see how that goes. I think it should be fun, in case we missed anything here. But I think we covered all the key points of things I was able to go on. I guess the thing I just want to kind of close on here is, I think, I will say, I think this is an incredibly impressive park, like, especially, with the lands and the individual attractions. Like, it's all really good. I don't know if I would say any of them are necessarily my favorite attractions ever. I think some of them may be in the running for it, and I may need to go on them again to fully appreciate them. But it's all really well done, and I think, my point more is that I don't think this necessarily destroys Disney right now, but I think this is the best competition yet that they've had. And especially for an opening day park, what they have here is freaking crazy for opening day. Where almost every attraction, minus the more off the shelf ones like the gliding one at Isle
Train Your Dragon.
Berk, yeah. But like the main attractions, like they're all like must rides. Like you have to go on these, and there's probably more of them here than I think any other theme park has ever had at opening, and that is absolutely amazing. And even if any of these, or even if none of these may necessarily be my absolute favorite rides ever, which they could be, I don't even know yet. I need time to process. I think that individually there are moments happening here that I have not seen anywhere else, and that is super cool. So yeah, I think they have the most impressive collection of rides for an opening day park. Even actually even selling a short for I think even compared to some of Disney's current parks, I think this lineup is probably better than some of them. I think there's probably more must rides here than even Disney Studios had. And that park's been open for 20 years or 30 years, and that is absolutely incredible. So yeah, I mean, I think what Universal has accomplished not only is on some level unique with these, the idea of universes you explore, but also like just unprecedented with the scale of everything, and that is really freaking cool. So yeah, if I were Disney, I'd be a little worried because right now all eyes are going to be on Epic Universe because it is doing, even if it doesn't, I think, blow them out of the water completely, but I think what they're doing here is at the least comparable to what Disney can do and has done in some ways, but it's all collected here in a single space with 4 sets of the most popular IPs ever, basically, right? Nintendo's not going anywhere. How to Train Your Dragon is huge and going to be even bigger now with the
live action.
Live action, thank you. Monsters is a classic. Maybe in a sense it doesn't, it's not in the zeitgeist as much as the others, but like it stood the test of time and it'll be around forever. And I think that actually allowed them to do things that they may not be able to with the other attractions. And then of course, Harry Potter, for better or worse, is not going anywhere either, right?
Yeah. So you touch up on that, and it's like, this is like a great thing for the park, like the longevity of it.
Yeah.
Because if you look at like Isles of Adventure, it's like the comic book section. Even when I was there as a kid, I'm like, I don't recognize any of these ones. You look at like Dr. Seuss, it's like Dr. Seuss seems a little dated, but maybe it's just because I'm getting older. Like there's parts of that era that are like, okay, you need to change this. And even what was the last land? Oh my god, I can't even think of it. That has the they just closed it down. Oh my god, Sinbad, not Sinbad.
Oh yeah,
well, that was part of it. I think that was a show there.
That's why Harry Potter took over the Mystery Island or something, or.
But no, it had the there was like a trident outside of it. Oh my god, it was a show.
Yeah, the show. Yeah.
Like even that when I went there as a kid, I'm just like, I don't recognize any of this. Like it's like not Greek mythology, but it's like something ancient. But it's like, but here it's like you said, these IPs have longevity that are going to outlast longer than us, which is great for Universal put them in. And I guess on top of that too, like, could you see any expansions here, not only to the existing lands but to brand new lands, or does it seem like they're pretty contained and there might not be much expansion going on?
Yeah, so we know that there's actually a fair amount of expansion space. At the least, I think Super Nintendo World has like at least a small area that they can expand into, if not a much larger area. So basically, I don't want to break it down too much, but I could be here for a while. But from what I understand, there are at least 2 huge expansion pads left, allowing for 2 entire new universes to be added.
Oh, wow.
On top of that, there are a couple smaller expansion pads that existing lands can expand into, depending on like what they want to do. Like there's a small space that either Super Nintendo World or Monsters can move into, and they may look at the at the patterns, the traffic patterns, to see what they want to expand. We'll have to wait and see what they actually end up doing here. But yeah, so there's a lot more they can add in the future, which is exciting. Although on the other hand, I will say, looking at how the lands are actually built, it is hard to see how they like naturally expand them, and that is one area I'm kind of concerned with. But like the way Disney's built most of their lands, they can kind of like, it doesn't feel like you're that enclosed. Like they feel a little more open. And it has its pros and cons, but it feels like, yeah, you can kind of naturally slot in like more attractions here, right? Or if they, or they want to go do a different thing, they often can. They haven't like locked themselves into these singular IPs like Universal has, although Disney's kind of going in that own direction in their own ways. like with the Monsters Incorporated land coming up, for instance. But yeah, I'm ultimately not too worried right now. Maybe that'll be a problem in the future. But for right now, we have an amazing park opening next month, I think on May 26th?
I think the 22nd.
22nd, yeah. And for right now, it's firing at all cylinders. It's amazing. If you can check it out, I encourage you to, because I don't think there's been a stronger line. Like I said that ad nauseum now. A stronger lineup of attractions for any park on day one, especially like at this scale, at this technological level, with some of those impressive animatronics I've ever seen. Yeah, it looks amazing. I feel like, real quick, I feel like Disney's kind of gotten into this weird pattern recently where like their most impressive animatronics are all like humans now, and like inherently it's like, okay, cool, you know, like I've seen tons of humans before, so even if it looks like a cartoon human, it's like, and that's another thing too, like a lot of their animatronics are cartoon humans, all look kind of the same as well, right? But the ones here at Universal they're monsters, they're Death Eaters,
video game characters.
Yeah, you need characters like dragons. Like it's so much more expansive than what we've seen Disney do in recent times. And like even the Star Wars ride, that's all humans again there, right?
Yeah,
for the most part. And that's why I think Universal is like they found a really great way of mixing all these different IPs. And that really feel unique from each other, and so it doesn't feel like repetitive at all. And yeah, I'm excited for other people to finally go on these things and check it out. So yeah, it's an amazing park, and I really want to go there again. I don't have to worry about recording everything, worrying about being led by a tour guide on the very on their schedule. I can just like really explore it for my own and really be able to take it in. I think I'll have even more fun when I'm going there for fun, not for work. But I had a blast, to be clear. I'm very grateful to Universal for inviting me, and it was a lot of fun. And I can't wait to talk about more of this when we do our live Q&A here very soon, everyone. So
yeah, and last thing to touch up on, it seems like this is a full day park, right? Like this is not like a half day park. Like when you're going there, you're spending your entire day hitting up every single ride because there's just so much to take in.
It's absolutely a full day park. I mean, and that is speaking as one who didn't have to wait in any lines. Like we got to skip all the lines, and I still wasn't able to fit quite everything in. And even though we got all the pretty much all the main stuff in, except for the Harry Potter show. But yeah, without even with skipping lines, it was still a full day experience. So yeah, at least a single day. I would be shocked once you add the crowds here. I think this is probably a 2-day park. I think at least. So there's a lot going here, especially if you take the time to fully explore these environments, go meet Toothless, go look at the dragon details, go play all the minigames at Super Nintendo World. You're going to be here for a long time. You can spend hours in each land alone, so that's impressive. Yeah, like in Harry Potter, you have all the wand interactions.
Yeah.
I worry that maybe Monsters might be the one you can, has the least to do perhaps, besides the 2 rides. But again, I don't have a whole lot of time to go explore myself, so.
And you know how they can fix that with Halloween Horror Nights?
Yeah, that can be huge,
right? Like they can be like, just like, oh, instead of having all these experiences where you have like the wristband or the wand, it's like, oh, we'll enhance this area for Halloween Horror Nights because it's already a scary area, so it makes sense.
Exactly, bingo. So yeah, Universal is killing it right now, and I can't wait to see what else they do in the future. And I really hope this kicks Disney in the butt to start figuring things out and stop destroying Tom Sawyer Island. That's the stupidest freaking idea ever. Destroying this beautiful area you have that makes Disney what Disney is. And I think that's what they're almost forgetting. Like in their chase to try and be Universal now, which I don't think they should be. Like I hope Universal makes them aim higher, but they're destroying what makes Disney Disney at the same time, and I think they're like on rocky territory here with that. So I hope though that Universal causes Disney to step up their game, and I think it's ultimately good for both parks, for both companies. I'm not allegiant to either of them. I just want great rides, great experiences, great theme parks. And I'm so happy that Universal is really killing it now. Like as you said, they're delivering it on a level here that I feel like Islands of Adventure almost felt like a precursor or like a testing grounds for it. But that was similar too. Like those islands are basically worlds, right? Yeah. And but the themes were kind of worse. They themes felt old for many of them at the time. Like even me when I went there as a kid, I'm like, these cartoons feel hella old. And Marvel back then, Marvel wasn't it's hilarious actually. That island actually aged better than almost anything else because it's more popular now than it was then, where it felt like it was old and tired. Like when I was a kid, like I'm like, who reads comic books anymore, right? And that's kind of become more of a thing again. And then Jurassic Park was probably the most hip area, but even that was 10 years old when it opened. And then the Mystery Island is cool, but yeah, didn't have really any IP based things, which is fine. But I don't know if they delivered on the level you need to for that kind of style thing, and I forget the other lands. Oh, Dudley
Dr.
Do-Right?
Seuss.
Dudley freaking
Oh,
Do-Right.
Dudley Do-Right, yeah.
That, like, I think that was around my parents when they were
Yeah.
kids, you know, like, that's crazy. So yeah, this feels like the idea of Islands of Adventure better delivered, you know, like, they figured it out, it's great, and it feels unique at the same time, so I am out of breath, but it's an amazing park. Check it out. I can't wait to talk about more of it with all of you, everyone. And I think that's it. Is that it for us, Nick?
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, it seems amazing. I can't wait to check it out. Again, like, we're not tied to either park, so it's like, I love seeing the competition between the both of them, because especially if you look at, like, Islands of Adventure, everything, like we said, was dated then, so it just seems great that, like, Universal's doing great in these other parks, and hopefully they can amplify that in Islands of Adventure in Universal Studios, because, like, if you look at Universal Studios, like, I haven't been on Jimmy Fallon or the Fast and Furious ride, but I see those online. I'm like, oh my god, those do not look good. Like, why'd they take out Twister and like the distraction or earthquake or whatever?
Distraction.
For those rides? I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to think of like the disaster or something, the backlot tour, but yeah, I think it was earthquake. I'm like, those rides were so good at the time. Like, even though they were simple attractions, like I'm sick of these screen based attractions. So I like that they're amplifying and adding more animatronics to where they actually need to put them.
Yeah, no, I think you're gonna have a blast here, then, Nick. It sounds like they've addressed like most of the complaints, if not all the complaints, that people have largely, you know, sent Epic's way. Like, you know, kind of dumb IP or dumb rides. The Fast and the Furious thing was so stupid. You know, Jimmy Fallon, I mean, it's kind of fun, but it's also stupid. It's not a ride I'll go on my way to do. And you know, too many screen-based attractions, including Jimmy Fallon, in fact.
Yeah.
And yeah, this really sidesteps all those issues, and it's great. And I will say something else too. You know, because yesterday when I went to the park, I was in work mode, right? Like, I got to capture everything, got to remember all the details or as much as I can. You know, couldn't really fully be there in the moment. Although on the rides I could be, but we couldn't film anything on the rides. But I will say, like, looking back, I was showing my parents like all the photos and pictures I took, and like, I almost got emotional at points. I mean, and like, I was almost in awe again of like just how impressive this creation is. And yeah, Epic Universe is great, so please check it out once it opens if you like theme parks. It's a lot of fun, even though it may be insanely crowded at opening, so be aware of that. I got lucky being able to skip the lines, and I feel for people who aren't able to. We got the lines for Monsters Unchained, Donkey Kong, Ministry of Magic, or Battle of the Ministry at the least, are going to be intense. And probably everything's going to be intense. But yeah, fun stuff. You're going to have a blast. So yeah,
cool. I think that's about it, right?
All right, that's it. All right, yeah, I forgot I should wrap it up. So with everyone, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our Q&A coming up soon, our live Q&A. We can ask me anything I missed, or if you want to know any specifics, I can try and get into them. And that'll probably be tomorrow after whichever day I post this. I'm trying to get this up the day we're recording, but who knows? With everyone, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more. With that, we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.